What does it mean to have a teacher identity? What are some things that characterize a good teacher? What does a teacher look like or sound like? What do they do when they're not at work? Sometimes this idea of teacher identity can feel like we're putting ourselves in a box and maybe question some of our choices. For example, should I get that tattoo I've always wanted? Or should I take that side job even though people in the community might see me? Should I dye my hair purple? Well, today my guest and I talk about identity and how the only rules are the ones that we make for ourselves, because truly the best way to create our identities is to be unapologetically and authentically yourself. And what a beautiful example that we get to share for our students. And make sure you check out Break Time, which is the monthly Empowered Educator subscription that gives you access to an incredible video library of self-regulation strategies, as well as a monthly group coaching call with me and other amazing empowered educators. Head on over to empowerededucator.com/resources. Remember all the passion and vision you had when you first went into teaching? Feeling like building young minds and creating community through your work would make a lasting impact on this world? Well, those days may feel like they're behind you now because you're exhausted, stressed, and overwhelmed and frustrated, but I'm here to tell you it doesn't have to be like this. In fact, the love of teaching never really went away, but it absolutely needs transformation. Welcome to the Take Notes podcast. I'm Jen Rafferty, former music teacher, mom of two, and certified emotional intelligence practitioner, and I'm here to light the way for you. In order to create a generational change for our kids, we need to shift the paradigm away from the perpetual stress and overwhelm and into a life of joy and fulfillment. This is Education 2.0, where you become the priority, shift how you live your life, and how you show up both at work and at home. So take a sip of steamy morning coffee and grab your notebook. It's time to take notes. Hello, and welcome back to Take Notes. I'm so excited for this episode today because I am here with the incredible Jenn Mercado. And Jen is a real estate agent by trade and an entrepreneur by spirit and a former educator. She is the owner of Jenn Mercado PA, her luxury real estate brand, and Insightful Media LLC, where she provides coaching and direction for realtors and their social media presence. And she has the unique gift of seeing people where they are and connecting them to communities that support them. She's a mother to two young children, a wife to her best friend and number one fan with whom she's created a seemingly traditional life while rewriting all the rules. Hi.
Wow. That's actually on point.
Yes. Well, I should hope so. It's yours, girl.
Yeah, sometimes like you write it and then you hear it and you're like, yeah, that's true. Like it's true. I think when you hear from somebody else, like it lands different. So yes, hello. Yeah. And I am super excited and honored and thank you for having me on today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm just so excited to get an excuse to talk to you. That's really what this is about.
I love it. Yes. And it's a public conversation. So it's all going to happen right here, right now in front of everyone else, which I'm so for.
Yes, me too. So one of the things that I love about you, and, we've known each other kind of peripherally for a long time now. And so something that I've always just admired about you is that you're so open and public about really showcasing that we're never one thing. And, as someone who comes from a traditional background, who took a very traditional path, it's really been inspiring to watch you morph and shapeshift into whatever feels right in the moment. And I'm learning how to do that, and it feels great. And I would just love for you to just share a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are and what that means for you to just kind of, I guess shapeshifting is the best way I can describe it right now.
And I love it too, because that's exactly what I want to, I guess, be remembered by, is that whenever Jen did X, Y, or Z, it was never out of place. It's like, oh yeah, Jen's doing this new thing. Cool. She's doing great at it. Oh, this other thing. Okay, cool. Never really having anybody kind of second guess or think that it's not congruent. So just hearing you say that, I'm like, okay, yeah, it's validating, because that's exactly the life that I want to live. That if something feels good for me, if something is calling me in one direction to another, that I'm not letting that initial hesitation of what will it look like stop me from going out and doing the thing. But it's funny that you said that you started in a traditional way, because I did not start traditionally and yet find myself ending up in what appears to be traditional roles and like traditional things to do, right? So like even my journey to becoming a teacher, I never thought or saw myself as a teacher until I became a kids entertainer as a clown. And then when I started having those interactions with kids and like really enjoying seeing the joy in their faces or like doing some learning activities, like even within the parties, I'm like, I guess I like kids. I guess I could do this. Like I could be a teacher. And like my clowning career was 10 years. My education career was almost 10, I think 8 or 9, like right before I left. So like I got there in a way that was really unexpected, right? I had no formal schooling for school to become a teacher. Like my master's has nothing to do with education. And yet I just found myself so naturally, I think, inclined to having that interaction and like having that impact with kids. That's where I ended up. So, from one transition to the next. And I think doing it in a way that I almost purposely have my blinders on. So like I don't get sidetracked by, well, what is it going to look like? Or what are people going to think? Because I so just want things to happen. And like that kind of, I guess, tenacity and having that blind me to just get to where I'm going. I don't stop to think of, oh, well, what does this look like? Like, right. Then after, becoming an educator, going into real estate now, not transferring. I'm not transferring. I'm still doing real estate, but now transitioning into a more educated role, even within real estate, now coaching real estate agents with their visibility on social media, doing it in such a way that for me, I don't bat an eye, and that the people around me and my family are just super supportive and don't bat an eye that Jen has a new hobby, or like, oh, this is what your passion is calling you to do. Great. And I think having that support really gives me the confidence that in anything I'm going to do, I'm going to excel. Whether I do or don't, I feel like I could. And that's good enough for me to just get to where I'm going and to try out new things and end up making it look, I guess, like it's traditional, but it's not. The behind the scenes is really an interesting roadmap to end up to where I am.
Yeah. And I want to talk about that behind the scenes in a minute, but you totally glossed over being a clown for 10 years. So we're going back to, you were a clown for 10 years. We need to talk about that. I want to know everything, because that, believe it or not, you are not the first clown that I have encountered. And you're also not the first clown who has gone into education once they were a clown. So
who is this person?
Well, it was someone we met in passing, and we had a very interesting conversation. So I would love to know like how that happened for you and what that was about. That's so interesting. Tell me.
Well, first you need to connect me with whoever my soul person is, because that is just uncanny. But clowning also was a happy accident. It's like one of those things where something just randomly pops up and inspires you to look on Craigslist, and you look on Craigslist and you find this job. Like it's going back to the things just happen. And if it feels right, I go for it, because what's the worst that can happen, right? I'm living like trying to figure out whether I should do it or not. But at the time I was working as a paralegal in a real estate law firm, and I wanted to do more creative stuff, like really feed into that creative part of my soul. Like I'm a singer. I love singing. I love performing. And I was looking for like side gigs, side hustles on Craigslist for like hosting karaoke or anything, like a lounge singer, just anything to put me in front of a mic with an audience and just belting out. And then the kid entertainer came up and I was like, oh, this is like an interesting description. So I clicked on it. And literally the job description was like 3 to 4 sentences. Looking for entertainer, available on the weekends, works kids parties, must have car, and must enjoy working with kids. Contact me for it. And I was like, oh, my niece had just been born, I think a few months before. I'm like, oh, okay, like I like kids, I guess. I have this niece. I love her. Like I do anything for her. I just had bought my car, which was exciting. So I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So I meet up with her. I shadow her at this party in Howard Beach, Queens, because I'm originally from New York. And I remember just showing up and like, oh, wow, like kids parties are fun. Like I'm from a Hispanic background. So like our kids parties are very different from like kids parties. So having that experience where it's like a theme and everybody was dressed up and like there were activities for the kids, I'm like, oh, this is fun. So I was having like a really fun time. Like I was a guest. This one little girl like just was so jiving with me. Like whenever she needed help, she came to find me. So like I walked her under the limbo stick. Like, oh, you want me to open your juice packet? Sure. Like just really leaning into being there. And my boss, well now like my best friend Daphne at the time, was like, yeah, like you're a natural, like you were not like skeeved out by anything, like you rolled with it. And I'm like, yeah, like it's kids, you know? And then from then on, she's like, yeah, I'd love to hire you. I think you also have princess capability. So I started first as like a clown assistant. Then I graduated to like being a princess and doing like the whole themed parties, like for royal tea parties and things like that. That was basically it. Just that one weekend going out by chance, meeting a random stranger from Craigslist at another stranger's birthday party. And it was like a match made in heaven. Like there was just an instant, like, yeah, I could do this and I can do this for a long time. So I did that all the way until I moved from New York to Florida. Here I started for a little bit my own company, but then I started having kids and I'm like, I can't be pregnant clowning and jumping around and doing the stuff. So I hung up my clown shoes for realtor shoes.
Wow. The thing about this that just blows me away is, again, I'm going to go back to, we're never just one thing. And I'll just share a little story about when the pandemic happened. I'd just gotten divorced. I'd moved out of my house. And then when the world shut down, I was now teaching music from home. I was homeschooling my own kids. I had all of the things I was the day before. It seemed like all of a sudden overnight, I was not anymore. Yeah. And when I decided to stay home and homeschool my kids, that's when I started my PhD. And there was this moment in the very first class when they said, introduce yourself. And I lost it. I was just crying in front of my computer because everyone was introducing themselves by, who they were married to, what job they had, and their children. And I felt so lost. And, here I was, and I didn't know who I was anymore. Yeah. And so hearing you just in this very short time we've been speaking, singer, paralegal, real estate, clown, princess, educator, voiceover, your mom, there are all of these things. And I want to highlight this is because it wasn't in that moment that I wasn't anything. I just didn't see myself with all of those facets as these identifiers. And I think this is really important and really ties in nicely to Empowered Educator Tenet 4 of like reflection of who we are as people. We get so pigeonholed in not only who we think we are, but who we think other people want us to be.
Spot on.
We have such blinders on in a way that creates tunnel vision, and we don't actually see ourselves any other way. And I think this is something that ties in so closely to burnout and feelings of exhaustion, is because when we put in ourselves, our full selves, and we connect it to our identity as being this one thing. And just as an example right now for our audience is just as a teacher, everything else falls to the wayside. Yeah. And what really I was excited to talk to you about is just this, is because, when we do see ourselves as multifaceted, almost like sprinkles are coming to mind. Just like all these beautiful different colors of like an ice cream sundae, like all of the different parts to it. We are so much richer than we might realize. So how did this happen for you? Was this something you always knew about yourself, or was this like defining moment where you're like, oh man, like I'm not just one thing, I'm everything?
Yeah, I'm so happy that you asked that, because it was almost like I didn't have a choice but to accept that I am all these different things. And like now as an adult, I embrace it. I'm like, yeah, I do this. And like very cavalierly, I can talk about like the 50 careers I've had in like my 34 years of life. Like I'm ready for retirement because all of those subsets of work are exhausting, but I think just going into it, having fun really helped kind of like break down the barriers of that. But I don't think it was something that I had intentioned to, but it was something that I came to accept about myself probably at a very early stage, because like even my upbringing has been very non-traditional, right? Like I had, I guess what I can say, like a progressive parenting, right? I didn't have the normal structure of family. I had like my single mom raising me on the one side with my siblings, and then like on the other half, like my dad with a full married life, career, 401k. Like I literally lived in two different worlds as a kid. And I think growing up, just trying to figure out in which world I fit in the most, I ended up not, I think, attaching to one identity over the other, but just allowing the identity to fit the purpose of wherever I was. So that sounds like I had multiple personalities. I don't. It was just like situationally, I knew where I was standing and that it wasn't who I was. Just my circumstance, just my situation at this time. Like, this is who I am. I'm my dad's daughter with my stepmom and my sister and my brother. And then at my mom's house, I was super like rambunctious for my mom. So I was always like the ping pong ball bouncing off the walls. So understanding that one over the other wasn't better. They were just different and they were just me. And that was just the circumstance of my life, and learning to not chameleon, but learning to live and exist in both worlds in a way that I didn't feel like an outcast. Because I did a lot of the times. I felt like I didn't fit in and I didn't fit in. And I'm like, well, I don't fit in because these are like two different worlds, but I live in them. So I don't have to fit in. That's just my life, right? That's just where we are. So then going through high school and going through college and like having more of that time of reflection with myself and really piecing together my role in my life and what I wanted my life to be. I want to say it might have been like in college where I made the decision that my past and who I was and like the things that I experienced as a kid didn't define me, just informed decisions that I made and the decisions that I can make, and who I ultimately wanted to be doesn't exist because I've never met anybody who had a similar upbringing to me. So just coming to terms with like, okay, like I have a story and everybody has a story, and to everyone, their story is unique. And I find mine unique, and leaning into that more than fighting it lent to a lot more like growth on my behalf than like getting pigeonholed and fixated on having to find the perfect box for Jen and fitting into it, where it's now like, whatever personality, whatever circumstance, whatever resource or tool I have in my advantage to assimilate, understand, experience, and relate to whoever I'm with, that's just the toolkit that I have for having all these different worlds exist within me.
Well, it's so freeing.
It wasn't, but yes, now it is. Yeah.
Tell me about that. What do you mean it wasn't at first? Was it scary?
Yeah, it was scary because like when you're in school, you have to know what you want to do when you get to college, and you have to know exactly what profession you're going to do. And your profession has to go straight from your college career. And me not ever being able, I think, to hone in on one skill or one industry or one thing that I really wanted to do, I felt like I had no direction. Like I didn't know who I was because I didn't have this box, this industry, this like clear set path of this is what Jen wants to do. This is how to get there. So it was a lot of just, I'm just going to do whatever's here, because I couldn't find where I fit in. And I was attaching so much of my identity to who I had to become. And, you know, through no fault of school its own, but that's what you learn in school. You go, you follow the rules, you get your education, you do the very best that you can. And then once you're done doing the best here, do the best out there in the thing you decided to do here. And I was not finding that, right? So like even majoring in poli science, but then minoring in philosophy. Like, why? I wasn't going to go become and create like a whole government creator. Like, it's not what I wanted to do. But I found that there were a lot of different skills in community building that I can do with that background, and really understanding nuances of people and just existence through philosophy. And that just informed me to be like, all right, there is no thing that you really want to do. So just do all of it until you can figure out what it is, because this box that everybody tells you need to find and fit in and conform to is just not a thing. It wasn't a thing for me personally. Now I don't think it's a thing for anybody, but I just had to get comfortable quickly with being free and redefining rules, which as a rule follower is very difficult.
Yes. Well, and this is also, a really good transition to the next question that I was going to ask you, because the work that I do with Empowered Educators is teacher centered, so when we're talking about the constructs of school, we are products of that same system.
Yeah, we are.
So it's this kind of macro way of looking at this, because not only are we perpetuating it in the systems that we currently work in, but we are products of this as well. And in order to make changes, we have to do it ourselves first.
Right.
So, having this reflection and this moment of, wow, am I in this box? Do I like the box? Because if you like, cool, like that's great for you.
Yeah.
If you're feeling like I'm trying to fit into this box, and even if your box is the type of teacher you think you should be or that you're supposed to be, and understanding that most teachers are rule followers.
The best teachers were teachers' pets.
Like that's just how
I'm just going to say it. You become a teacher because you were the teacher's pet. Though.
Yeah, like right. Yeah. You loved school, or you hated school and you wanted to do everything that your teachers didn't do. Right. So like you want to follow some sort of rule book, because in our analytical brain, that makes the most sense. Yeah. But understanding that not only can you rewrite the rules, but there are actually no rules. There actually are no rules.
There are none. Yeah. And there are no limitations, right? And there's no, I think, structured, clean, bulletproof list of, if you absolutely do this, this is the guarantee of what you're going to get. Like that doesn't exist either. But yeah, I mean, to your point, we are products of school, and I find myself like overachieving in other moments in my life. And I'm like, I'm not in school anymore. But if I had the opportunity, like I'd go back to school in a heartbeat. Like, well, who wants to teach me something new? Yes. Okay, let's go do that thing. Right. So I think we really are. But again, the system that we are, again, because we don't have, I think, the flexibility or maybe the collective, yeah, this isn't good, right? Like, I think when we get to that point where we're all looking at each other like, wait, we've done what? We've been doing what? Which I think we're getting more to now, especially like as a mom, and I'm looking at like where I want my kids to go to school. And I'm like, oh no, that actually isn't great, because I don't want for my kids to feel like I felt. I don't want for them to think that there is a direct correlation between what they did in school, what they learned in school, to the rest of their life, because that's not true. So really having that conversation with myself where like when I want to be super strict and I want to follow the rules because that's what I was taught to do, because it's very rewarding to follow the rules, to also understand that my kids, one, don't know them, don't know that they exist, two, and three, don't know that they can rewrite them for the life that they want to live. So it's really like one of those, okay, we're going to break these rules and it's okay. And I'm like talking to myself and the kids are like, so can we do this thing or not? Like, it's a yes or no. And I'm having this whole like consortium inside of me, like, guys, are we ready to do this? Like, are we ready to rewrite how we've been parented so that my kids can now have a new example? And that when they go to school, that it's okay to push back if something doesn't make them comfortable, but also to show them to do that with respect.
Sure. Well, and that's, I think, again, being reflective about this in your own classroom. I think we can liken this to this idea of what's happening now with student-centered learning and flipped classroom, where teachers now become guide on the side instead of, sage on the stage, right? Like this is kind of this idea of loosening up the control that once was part of traditional teaching and really letting kids lead. But that takes a lot of inner work as a teacher to do that. And not just to do it in the classroom, but to model it yourself. And that's what I think a lot of this work really is about, again, is creating that mindset shift for you. Yeah. So you're not just saying words, but you're actually embodying what it means to be flexible and change your mind and do something different. You're not just teaching that, you are living that.
Correct. Yeah. And I think that those are skills that you can generalize at any point, right? You want to embody being flexible, not just in school, not just with your students, but with your family members, with your social circles, like wherever it is. There's a lot to be said, I think, about women or teachers in particular who understand. And like, I know that this probably the experienced teachers are like, yeah, we know that, but like, it bears repeating, like, just don't take things personally. Cause when you can take yourself out of the equation and you can just understand that this is a role that I'm doing at this time, and being a teacher is a part of me, it's not my whole life. You can really ease back and start to see who you bring to the table as a teacher, not what the teacher brings to the table as you. And I think having that distinction really is going to help in embodying it, because now you're not your job anymore. You're what you want for the students to understand. You're giving them an open space to make those mistakes that we say it's okay to make, but freak out when they happen. It's really about having that, I think, synergy with who you are and what you do that's going to lead to that embodiment, and not just seeing it, oh, like I learned this in the school building, so it's going to stay here. No, these are things that I can do throughout other aspects of my life as well.
Yeah. And so for you, I imagine part of this also with rewriting rules, you had to really redefine your definition of success.
Mm-hmm. So it started there.
Like, we've had this conversation before about success, and this is something that's super near and dear to my heart too, because I had to rewrite my own definition too. So, as someone who is living such this, non-traditional lifestyle, what does success mean to you?
So I think first and foremost for me, that success isn't like a fixed destination anymore, where I think that's what it was. Like once I did that and I had that and this validation, like I was successful. So I've learned to become really, I want to say, graceful with myself, in that my success and definition can change, and that it doesn't have to be like this one fixed point, that it can just look like and be what feels good for me at the time and what I feel is the journey that I'm meant to be on. So my current definition of success right now is kind of what I'm doing. Just being able to show up as I want, as who I am, being able to mess up on stage if I need to, mess up in front of my kids. It's having a sort of financial independence and freedom that I choose to make investments in my business, that I choose to have a supporting role for another company if that's what feels good and is going to also like give me a skill set. It's not, I guess I could probably define success easier than what it's not than what it is for me right now. But like, it's not having the hardest working person badge, not staying up super late in the hours, not being 24/7 available for my customers when we're in a real estate transaction, like having those clear boundaries that, yeah, this is what I do. This is my skill set and I'm able to be this good and productive because I have these boundaries. So if we can respect that, we're fine. So I think like, yeah, for me right now, success is where I am. So this level of success I've achieved. I can wake up, I get to do what I want. I get to make money through a business. I get to make money on demand. I get to be available for my kids to drop them off at school, to pick them up. I get to take care of my body, work out, have the time set aside for that. I get to invest in my house and make the improvements that we want. And moreover, I think we get to do the things that we want to do without letting fear dictate whether we do it or not. And I think that probably is my definition of success. Doing what I want to do and not being afraid of not doing it, but doing it maybe because it doesn't feel good or because it does feel good, but not having that fear be the reason I stop or don't do something.
Yeah. And I think even just that understanding that we get to define success however we want, you know, that's another thing with, again, being products of our upbringing, right?
Yeah.
It's about getting all of the A's and getting the external praise and acknowledgement. And education is generally a thankless job of service, right? So we're just like, waiting for someone to just say thank you, you know, and when they do, well, then we'll feel successful or we'll feel that we meant something or felt important. And perhaps the best thing that we can do for ourselves is shift our definition of what it means to feel successful. Because even what you were saying of success is doing what feels good, that is also a very radical idea for a lot of people, especially as when we first start working together. You know, it's not until we kind of dive into what that really means is they're like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense now. Because oftentimes we feel like we have to do things that don't feel good to be successful. Right. And again, in being reflective, this isn't just about what we're teaching our kids. It's about embodying this shift so we can be examples for another way to live, because the way we're doing it right now, it's not working. It's not sustainable. We cannot maintain healthy longevity, not just in teaching, but just in like in every career, right? You know, so you're going to make the most money and feel burnout, or you're going to get to retirement and not be able to enjoy it because you've been stressed out for 30 years and now you're sick. It's not working.
Well, and also like not even allowing yourself to celebrate that success, right? Because I remember, super straight A student here, like reading commendation cards in the newspaper for being an avid reader, like all the things, but never really like feeling that I can brag about it or like celebrate. Like it became a thing that almost made you jaded. Like, oh, okay, yeah, Jen got another A, big deal. And it's like, it is a big deal. But at that age, like that's just what was expected. So really understanding that shift that, like we have this external validator and then we receive it, but also limit it. Like, don't let that go to your head. Don't get super involved in the fact that you did good. Like that just means that you have to work harder because now you put yourself on the spotlight, that this is the type of career as a student that you're going to maintain and hold. So really, like when you said that, getting the A's, I'm like, oh my gosh, yes. Like having that validation that, good job, you did it, but also, okay, but get over it because now you have to do it again and like just keep going and keep doing it. And then for teachers who are, I think, still in it. And, you know, I say this for myself as well, because I did do it and I'm like, this is a thankless job. Like I'm doing it for the kids. Like I love the kids. Like, of course, what wouldn't I do for them? What wouldn't I do for them? And it's going back to that mentality. I'm getting validation to be rewarded, but also don't be happy to be rewarded. So like just show up all the time until you die. And I think that it's such a powerful shift too, that when we do get those validations and we're not allowed to celebrate them, like that could be an awareness for you too. Like, wait, why am I not feeling like I can celebrate this? Like, this is what I wanted. Why am I not happy now that I have it? And that's another way for you to be like, maybe this wasn't my success. Maybe this was somebody else's. Maybe this was something that I was raised to think that I need or want or absolutely have to be this person in my community, be this person in my family. And it doesn't feel right. And that's why. Sorry.
Yeah, right. Well, I think there's two things that I think you mentioned there. First is, again, like living someone else's expectations of you, which is really important in whatever you're doing. And even if it's just in the way you show up, right?
Mhm.
The way you decorate your classroom or the way that you interact, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It has to be true to you, first of all, because otherwise the successes aren't going to feel good. And then the second thing you had mentioned is that we look at celebrating ourselves as bragging. And a lot of times when I work with teachers and school leaders, they are very uncomfortable celebrating themselves because we don't want to boast. We live in this culture where it's not okay to toot your own horn, or you have to say, I'm going to toot my own, or like, I don't mean to toot my own horn, but like, no, toot, please.
Toot, toot, toot. Yeah, toot, toot.
Because if you're not going to take the time and sit in that, you're missing the whole thing. You miss the whole thing. And if this is really what you wanted, then you need to take the time and receive that beautiful success. Mm-hmm. Sit in that moment where that kid had that light bulb go off, sit in that where you just finished your big assessment project for the thing and everyone showed up and it was great. Like sit in that thing because, and not just sit in it, tell someone.
Yeah. Thank you. I was just going to say
Facebook.
To expand on that, tell somebody. And also if you're in the classroom, celebrate your students, right? In a way that they all feel included in the celebration. And I'm not just saying like gloss over like this one kid's super success just to include everyone else, but make it so that it's poignant, that there is that intention in celebrating what they've just accomplished, and we don't do it for ourselves. So it's easier sometimes to do it for others, but then we see how good they feel. Why are we denying that for ourselves? Like when my kids do anything that's like really exciting, or like even when they mess up, I'm like, hey, it's okay. And they're like, yeah, I'm like, yeah, it's fine, whatever, just letting them know that I'm going to celebrate them. Even like when we have fights, I'm like, listen, I love you. Today wasn't the best day. Tomorrow could be another day. I still love you. You know that, right? Like always just making sure that at any point you can delineate that who they are is not this one moment, is not this test, is not this celebration. That I think is going to go far too. So for teachers who need to hear it, also for the students, like, yes, it's wonderful to celebrate, but I think really the intentionality is like not to attach yourself to that one thing, because then you're going to keep going for that hit. And at the end, you as a person deserve that hit regardless of where it comes from. So you're not always fixating on doing that same thing over to get that response again.
And that brings us back full circle, because this now then validates when we're celebrating all of these things that we are never one thing.
We're never
one thing. And the more we can celebrate all of the beautiful continuum and the huge spectrum of successes in our lives, the more evidence we start to realize like, oh, wow, I'm not just one thing. Mm-hmm. And the more rich our lives become because we see ourselves as all of the different fractals that we are.
Yeah. And I think, we try to do that maybe in a way to compartmentalize, like, oh, I'm this person at home, I'm this person at school, so that you have more maybe control over your emotions, or like maybe, I don't want to say like just emotions, but I think, and this was again, probably something from society, like if we're compartmentalized and clean cut, then we understand our role in each place. And it's like, no, we're going to have that bleed through because we are the same person everywhere that we go. We might be functioning in a different facet, but at the heart, that's us. And all of those things make us. And I think it's not so much sectioning off those identities. It's bringing them back together and looking at yourself as like a pie, a puzzle piece, and not a book in the library that, oh, this is the book I'm reading today. Like, this is all I am. It's like, no, I'm everything that encompasses that. And that just, it leads to self-acceptance, I think, in ways that people might not expect. Like, it took me a while to come to terms with that I'm all of these things. And that, again, not that I'm wrong, just that they're different and they're incompatible. And that's okay. That's okay. I can like women and be married to a man. Like there are things that are not compatible, but that it doesn't matter whether it makes sense or not, because the life that we're creating is just one where it's like, it feels whole. And I think that wholeness just comes from you saying, yes, this is who I am. No apologies. This is my life. This is what I've been through. I can't apologize for my experiences. I can't apologize for the identities that I'm attributing to myself, but also I can change them at any time. And okay.
Right. And again, it's making sense is really just about a construct of rules that, again, don't exist. So as long as you show up as your most authentic you make sense because you are. That's it. And the sentence, I am is so powerful. And this is an exercise I do with the people that I work with too, is make a list. I am, and just see what comes up, sit on it for a little while and come back to it a couple of days later. And you'd be surprised the kinds of things that start to come up for you.
Yeah. And I think like the other part of it too is when you have that awareness of who you are, also understand that you don't have to be anymore. Like if it's an identity or something that doesn't fit right or doesn't feel good anymore, you can let it go. Nobody's going to judge you for holding on to it. People might not even know that you subscribe to that identity anymore. Like it is okay for you to just let go of the things that you feel need to be let go of. Right. And I think that there's always this concept in society where it's like, oh, you're letting go, you're giving up. Like, how dare you give up? It's like, no, I fulfilled the duty. It did what it needed to do. Like, it's okay to let things go and die. Like, that's fine. So I think it's also having that forgiveness of yourself and having that grief moment. Like, yeah, this was an identity that I thought I was, but seeing where I am and the things that I've been able to do, like, that's no longer me. And that's okay too. She brought me here, and I'm saying she because it's me. We fulfilled the purpose. Whatever lesson I had to learn from that Jen happened, and I can let her be free in the others to wherever she needs to go and not hold on to that experience or identity anymore.
And that's huge. And for me personally, that's been a journey for me to have that moment of not just acknowledging, yes, old Jen served a purpose and now new Jen comes along, but that moment of grief of letting go an older version of myself. And then that self-forgiveness piece of things that I didn't really, me now looks back with all of the wisdom that I have now. Like, how could old me have made those choices? And it's, that self-forgiveness piece. And then you come to a sense of, like you said, gratitude of, I wouldn't be here right now if I didn't have that. And it is a journey, but a beautiful one. And I think that's really what we're doing here. We grow and evolve and change and shapeshift and figure out who we are. And that should change. And I am purposely saying should here. I know in this world, I don't often say should, but if you're doing it right, you cannot be the same person you were 10 years ago. It doesn't work that way. And embracing that beautiful change, which is scary, is really how you're going to become this best version of yourself and self-actualize.
Yeah. I mean, and like that just brought me back to, early in the conversation, you'd mentioned like all the things you were going through, like during the pandemic, like I shifted my entire life to in the pandemic, right? Like, I mean, you had an experience and then you are in this new environment and like, you still have like this old you kind of like in this new you emerging and you're like, and then who are you? I don't know, like how could that not have been the answer at that time? Because you literally were in a transition. You had no idea, right? And I think that the pandemic kind of did that for me. Like I was already, I guess, in the throes of like postpartum depression. And I was just like, something is not right. Like I couldn't put my finger on it. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know if it was just hormonal. I think it was a moment of collective pause, grief, and release at the same time. Everybody, I think, went through some sort of like metamorphosis then. And however we emerged at the other side, I think what hasn't been spoken about is that grief period, that whoever we walked into in 2020, like is not the person that's here. And whether it's good grief and you're happy where you are, or it's sad grief and like things took a turn, like you're allowed to grieve. I can still grieve that mom that I was. And like all the things that came up for me that year that I never wanted to revisit of my childhood, like it was necessary. Like I had that grief and it was okay to have it. And it's okay to feel those feelings where like, yes, everything's fine. Everything's fine. No, it's not. Then it's not. Like, that's okay. There is no clean cut way to be a human. So that's all that is.
It's messy and it's a beautiful mess.
If you're alive and it's messy, mission accomplished.
Right? That's just it. Yeah. And before I forget, I'm going to put in the show notes, there's this beautiful song. I don't know if you know it, but there's a song, Never One Thing by May Erlewine. It's a gorgeous song and I'll send it to you after the podcast too, but I'll put it in the notes because it has been a repeating theme song for me over the last 2 years, especially during COVID, kind of getting me through and understanding this identity shift from everything I talked about before, but even, transitioning from being in the classroom to now teaching educators. I had written a book about being a teacher and it was like, well, what does this mean now that I'm not in the classroom anymore? I had to really grieve like you were talking about and then step into this new version of myself, forgiving myself for making this decision that I thought it needed forgiveness, right? And then being able to work through all of those messy feelings to get to where I am today. And no matter what the transitions are, whether it's to paralegal to clown, to singer to princess, or moving classrooms or grade levels or shifting from a pandemic. It doesn't matter. We all go through this beautiful process. And once you kind of see this from new, fresh eyes and invite it in, what are the possibilities? There's so many possibilities for us in this lifetime that to pigeonhole ourselves into this one thing, you're selling yourself short. And then in turn, that's what we're modeling for our kids. And we are cutting them off at the knees before they even get a chance to get out the door.
Exactly. Like I think back to like some of the teachers that I had, like I want to say I had the blessing of just some really amazing teachers. Like I can name you my teachers probably from like kindergarten to like college, because I've just, again, teacher's pet, and I didn't want to forget anybody's names. I don't know anybody's name I met yesterday, but my teachers, I'll tell you. I just had the good fortune of having them when there was this like lean in towards you can be whatever you want to be. Dream it and you'll become it. We're all like crayons in a rainbow. Like I had those teachers. Like I had that progressive attitude where, yeah, like you excelled at it. Amazing. Somebody efforted it. Awesome. Like never really bringing anybody down. Although like now as I'm an adult, I'm like, oh, they totally like knew that I was going to be like neurotic because of like how attentive I was to my grades. But really just having that, yes, you can be whatever you can be. And if it was just a slogan or a campaign that teachers had, like I drank that shit. I bought into that Kool-Aid. And I'm like, you know what? Bet I can be anything that I want to be. And in my family, there's nobody who's done any of the things that I've done, and like not even saying it as like, oh, look at me, but like saying it like it's scary to do these things and to just have that, well, does it feel good? And what am I going to leave behind in doing so? It's like, oh, okay. And then you're raising everybody with you. And then they start to see themselves in a new way, and they start to believe and drink the Kool-Aid that they can do whatever they want. And they start to pivot and change careers. It's like, yes. And I will champion you because why not? And if you change your mind, have at it. That's it.
Yes, more of this. So which leads me to my last question, which I ask everybody, considering all that we've talked about, what is your dream for the future of education?
I think for me, the dream is like, I don't want to rewrite everything, right? There were some things that I think were pinnacles that worked and that got us here and that are leading us to have this conversation because it didn't all suck. There was a lot of insight and beauty in what we did. But I think if I had a dream for the education system, it's just for it to not encourage the box. I think is the best way that I could describe it. Don't encourage just excelling in a test and that's all you are. Don't encourage just getting into college and that career and that becomes who you are. I think it's, yes, you have a skill set in taking a test and reading books and engineering. Great. Cultivate that skill set in a way that it's more generalized and not, well, if you're good at this, then you can only do that. Because I think that's a huge disservice. So really just allowing kids to, and, even especially as they get into like middle school and high school. And I've had, thank God, like the fortune of working with kids in middle school and high school and elementary and all across the age. And like the one thing that I carried away from like being with all those grades is just the ability to tell them, this does not define you, right? We're all here to do a job. This is what we're spending our day to day. These are my goals as an educator. But please know at the end of the day, on your last day of life, you are not going to remember this moment that happened in fourth grade. That boy that said he didn't like you, that teacher who maybe had a bad day and was rude to you without having the way to express themselves. So it's really just that. This is a moment. This is a phase. And you have skills here that you can cultivate and generalize them across your life. But this is not everything. So that would be my dream for education, to let kids see it as a vehicle and not the end all be all, and not let it really cataclysmically define who they are becoming as they grow up.
Get rid of the boxes. No more boxes.
There are no boxes.
There are no boxes.
There are no boxes.
This has been fantastic. I'm like
the best. Let's just keep going. I know I have like my other job I have to get to, but I'd much rather continue this.
This has been so wonderful and something I think needs to be talked about more often. Because like you said, I think there have been things that have led us to these sorts of conversations. So let's keep having them because they're important for this massive transformational generational change that we're doing here in Empowered Educator world, because this is really how we change the world is we show up differently ourselves. We understand ourselves better and we do it better than we had in the past. And we're on a different trajectory now.
Yeah, we are. And honestly, like I love the work that you're doing. And maybe had I been in education, like at the same time, it probably would have been like a different conversation with where my trajectory would have gone. But really being able to look at not just the teacher as a whole, but their role in the education system, and really having that conversation that just because things are doesn't mean they have to remain, and that it's okay for us to see ourselves in a different light, but also empower the teachers to make those decisions within their classroom and to impact the students that they can by being the best versions of themselves, because just having a good day alone might make an impact on a kid that nobody would have ever considered. So I think that when you have that space and that time to selfishly take care of yourself, reflect on what your needs are, you're showing up in the classroom as a much different person. And that's going to translate a lot more to a student than if you just, hit all your benchmarks and everybody's fine.
Yeah, because, that taking care of yourself, that is how you serve your students, and rewriting the narrative of that being selfish. That's really, if you want to serve, then you better take care of yourself first.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if there are people who want to get in touch with you and learn more about you and your story and all the beautiful things, we didn't even talk about your career as a realtor. So maybe we'll have you back on and we'll talk about buying a house, particularly in this crazy market right now. How can they get in touch with you?
So I'm mostly on, Instagram at the Jenn Mercado. I have a website, www.jennmercado.com. Also have a podcast, Red Carpet Living with Jen. That's on YouTube and Anchor and all the places. But yeah, social media is, I think, maybe the first place you can find me. And also I'm a realtor, and our information's super public. So if you were to Google Jennifer Mercado, you would know all the things about me. But yeah, I think I would say start an Instagram and we'll go from there.
Great. And all of those links will be in the show notes, obviously. So thank you so much for your time in this gorgeous conversation. It needed to happen for me today, personally.
Oh, yay.
Happen today. So thank you.
Thank you. Honestly, this was a pleasure. I think long overdue. You and I have always needed an excuse to just do this one-on-one. So I'm happy that it happened, but yes, overdue. But really, thank you for having me, for sharing this space, and for taking me back down memory lane to the 5,000 other jobs I had before.
It was amazing. I'm glad you took us on that journey with you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes. And thank you so much for listening. And we'll be back next week with a new episode.
Incredible, right? Together, we can revolutionize the face of education. It's all possible, and it's all here for you right now. Let's keep the conversation going at Empowered Educator Faculty Room on Facebook.